The wedding wasn't so grand. Only a few people were in attendance. Anyway, mother and daughter moved into our house afterward, and that was the beginning of my time in hell. Selena and Jasmine were evil and two-faced. Whenever my dad was home, they'd both act all nice and calm. But when he wasn't, they rained fire and thunder on me. I would tell my dad, but I didn't want to ruin his happiness. I could see that he was happy with his new marriage, so I took in whatever they did to me. The workers knew about what was happening and weren't in support of it, but they couldn't do anything about it. One time, Jasmine and her mom made me slip on a slippery floor and I sprained my ankle badly. I had to be rushed to the hospital. When my dad asked, I simply told him I slipped because I wasn't looking. They would leave dead rats in my room, put salt in my coffee if I left it for a moment, and even steal money from me. When my mom died, it felt like the end of the world for my dad and I. I couldn't tell which of us was more hurt. She was my mom, but was also my dad's lovely wife. They both managed my dad's companies. During the period when she was sick, I'd been so downcasted. My mom was my best friend. I never held back when confiding in her. She was that mother who knew when to be a parent and when to be a friend. Our home was peaceful because of her patience. She treated the house workers with respect and care. And my father always had a smile on his face because of her. She was smart and assisted him in managing the companies perfectly, and she was also a good wife who showered him with love and affection. Of course, it wasn't just her showing all the love. We also loved her just as much. And when she fell sick, it felt like a cloud of sadness had found its stop over our home. The sickness hadn't hit her once. It made her suffer. It started with little symptoms, until it weakened her till she could barely stand for long anymore. Then, we were all disturbed. She'd tried to assure us that she didn't need to go to a hospital. However, when it got to that stage, my dad was forced to take her to the hospital. And there, it was discovered that she had cancer. Shockingly, she was at a critical stage. The doctors wondered how it was possible for her to hold up until then. We all knew at that moment that she'd been hiding it from us for a long while. She was immediately admitted to the hospital, and the doctors commenced treatment on her. The house began to grow quiet from then. I was 17 and still in college. Whenever I didn't have classes, I would go to the hospital. It was the same thing with my dad, who would go straight to his wife after work. The workers were also downcast, since the main source of our home's joy was lying on a sickbed. Everyone carried a moody face. My mom spent 3 months at the hospital. During that time, while we both looked after her, my dad ensured that I didn't fall into depression. Every now and then, he would tell me how beautiful I am and try to make me confide my worries in him. Well, I did. A few times. After 3 months, the doctor finally gave us good news. My mom was getting better. We were overjoyed. It was the best news we'd all heard in 3 months. She could speak to us now with her contagious smile. The workers came over to the hospital, and most were moved to happy tears as they saw her back to her old self. Another 2 weeks went by, and it was finally the day of her discharge from the hospital. Neither me nor my dad could stop grinning from ear to ear as we gathered her things. While we did that, she was asleep. Once we were done, I tapped her to wake her up. At first, when she didn't wake up, I thought I was tapping too gently, so I tapped a little harder. But she still didn't budge. I began to get scared and alerted my dad. We shook her together, screaming and yelling for her to wake up. But she didn't. She never did. She died. I nearly went insane. My dad fainted. The doctors were shocked to the bone. How could she die on the day of her discharge? It all didn't seem real until the day of her funeral. That was when it hit me that I'd never see her or speak to her again. That was the most trying time of our lives. Some of the workers had to resign. They couldn't bear living in the house without my mother. It was purely depressing for everyone. Well, as time went on, we began to cope with the fact that she was truly gone. Although we couldn't forget her, we knew she'd be happy if we all went back to our lives. My dad called to the workers who'd left. Some accepted to return, but 2 didn't. They were one of our 5 oldest workers who'd been with us since I was little. They were too used to her and couldn't be in the house without her. My dad understood, of course. Everyone went back to their lives. The workers were nice to me. They would randomly give me comforting words, good meals, and sometimes even hugs. My dad was also doing his best for me, even though he was also hurting. I tried to comfort him too, as I was the only one he had left. He would sometimes break down in front of me, telling me how he would have preferred to take her death. Well, 1 year passed, and we were all back to our lives. Her memories remained rooted to our hearts, though. Another year passed, and another. I was 20 by then, and almost done with college. Life was still going well, and we'd all recovered from the loss of my mother. One day my dad confessed to me that he was dating a woman. He looked so scared, which made me laugh. I encouraged him that I was in support of him having another woman. I was sure he wouldn't be able to love any woman like he loved my mother, so his girlfriend didn't matter to me. He showed me photos of her, and I was impressed. She looked kind and also beautiful. I instantly became eager to see her. My dad agreed, and 2 months later, we had dinner together. When my dad offered to pay, the lady, Selena, stopped him and paid instead, telling him how she didn't want him to go broke because of food. I frowned at that. Well, 7 months after my mom's death, my dad had sold off one of the companies. He'd stopped going to work, and that had taken a toll on the companies. He did so as to use the money in pushing the second company. However, it seemed as if even the second company was crumbling. We only had the house as a trusted property. My mom's parents, as if noticing, stepped in. They asked my dad to focus on bringing his company back to life, while they took care of my expenses. Luckily, everything stabilized in the second company. I suppose Selena knew all of it already, seeing how she treated him. Anyway, we left afterward. We didn't talk about her until about 3 months later, when my dad suddenly told me Selena would be moving into the house. Why? I think it's too much to bring her here, Dad. She's just your girlfriend.
Well, I might have proposed marriage to her.
What? What have you done, Dad? Marriage? Wasn't it too soon to marry the lady? How could he even think about marrying her? I wasn't in support of everything happening, but my dad managed to convince me, and I agreed. Well, we made a deal. If I wasn't comfortable with Selena living with us after 6 months of living with us, then he wouldn't marry her.
But I'm sure you'll be comfortable. Selena is a good person, and I like her.
I hope she was. I could tell my dad was happy with her, and I didn't want to see him unhappy after mourning my mom's death for over 3 years. One day, he suddenly asked me to go on a date with him. When we got to the restaurant, I saw Selena. But she wasn't alone. There was a girl beside her who looked just like her.
This is Jasmine, Selena's daughter. She'll be moving in with us too.
It sounded too much, but I managed to handle my emotions. Throughout the time we spent together, I caught Jasmine glaring at me. Well, her mother seemed quite nice. We went on 3 more dates, and I eventually told my dad to just go ahead and marry her. He seemed so excited to do so, and I thought making him wait 6 months for my approval was too much. The wedding wasn't so grand. Only a few people were in attendance. Anyway, mother and daughter moved into our house afterward, and that was the beginning of my time in hell. Selena and Jasmine were evil and two-faced. Whenever my dad was home, they'd both act all nice and calm. But when he wasn't, they rained fire and thunder on me. I would tell my dad, but I didn't want to ruin his happiness. I could see that he was happy with his new marriage, so I took in whatever they did to me. The workers knew about what was happening and weren't in support of it, but they couldn't do anything about it. One time, Jasmine and her mom made me slip on a slippery floor, and I sprained my ankle badly. I had to be rushed to the hospital. When my dad asked, I simply told him I slipped because I wasn't looking. They would leave dead rats in my room, put salt in my coffee if I left it for a moment, and even steal money from me. One time, my dad forgot a few dollar notes on the dining table and they stole it. When he asked, they put the blame on me and told him they saw me taking it. No matter how I tried to defend myself, my dad didn't believe me. He was disappointed that I stole from him. Believe me, Dad, I didn't take it.
Well, 2 people can't be lying against you. I'm disappointed, Susan. You could have just asked me. Your mother and I didn't raise you to be a thief.
I felt so betrayed, but I let it slide and apologized to him. My stepmother and her daughter didn't stop. One day, a maid came to me in my room saying she had something important to show me. Lo and behold, it was a video recording of my stepmother on a video call with a man, all three making strategies on how to kill my father and take over his remaining assets. I was shocked and scared. I knew I needed to tell my dad quickly, but I couldn't find the right time. On the day I planned to tell him, I was awaiting his arrival in the living room. My stepmother and sister suddenly came to me and asked me to leave the sitting room. I refused, because I couldn't understand why they'd want that. Without warning, they pounced on me and began punching me, pulling my hair, kicking me. I was in pain and tears. Luckily, before some of the workers could walk in, my aunt opened the door and saw the sight. She was livid and lashed out at them badly. The workers treated my wounds while my aunt called my dad, who returned home about 30 minutes later. My aunt explained what she saw when she came in. Surprisingly, the workers spoke too. They told him about how Jasmine and Selena have been treating me, and how I'd endured it all. I could see the anger in my dad's eyes. The maid also showed him the video, and he immediately went pale with disbelief and shock.
Is this true, Selena?
I couldn't lie anymore. I told him everything. I didn't want you to be hurt. That's why I never said anything. My dad was so angry. He turned to Selena and sent a slap across her cheek.
The both of you, get your things and leave my house, now.
They were visibly afraid, as they'd never seen him like that before. They hurriedly packed their things and rushed out. The next week, my dad divorced her and filed a case of bullying and attempted murder against her. At the court, we got to know that Selena's brother was an old business partner of my dad, and they'd both had a bad fallout. She and her daughter had entered our lives for revenge. Anyway, they were both found guilty and given a 10-year term each, and 6 months community service after discharge to teach them a lesson. I was satisfied with that. Her family had denied being aware, as they needed to protect their reputation. So Selena and Jasmine were alone and abandoned. Not really alone. At least they had cellmates in prison who continuously bullied them, according to what I heard. As for my dad, he didn't remarry, as he couldn't trust another woman. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
Honestly, no, sir, I don't. I definitely wasn't speeding. You think so? Well, you're wrong. You were going over the speed limit by 20 kilometers per hour. No, I wasn't. Well, I'm not lying. As a police officer, it is my job to uphold the law. So listen, you can pay half the fine now or the entire amount when you go to court. The ticket is $600. I only have $50 on me. Well, that isn't remotely enough. You need to take this seriously. Suddenly, the officer went around to the front of my car and took out his baton and smashed one of my front lights with it. You see, if you don't pay, then stuff like that happens. So now how much money do you have on you? I began to panic even more. I really only had $50 on me, and I wasn't sure what he was going to do to me when I revealed that. I'm sorry, but I really only have $50. Hey there. So I witnessed something I could not believe would happen outside of a movie. Honestly, I'm still amazed that someone could be so incredibly stupid but also clever. Here, let me explain. I was driving home from work one night, and I was very tired, so I really wasn't paying that close attention to how fast I was going. I was actually just keeping up with traffic when suddenly I heard the sounds of a police siren and saw flashing lights. My heart sank as I realized that I was getting pulled over by a cop. Reluctantly, I pulled over though and put my car in park and waited for the police officer to come over and speak with me. Looking through my mirrors at the cop car, I couldn't help but think that the police car looked a bit odd. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something about it seemed unusual. After a couple minutes, the cop got out and walked over to my car. Hey there, do you know why I pulled you over? Not really, officer. I was just on my way home from work. I don't think I was breaking any laws. Well, you would be wrong. My radar gun told me that you were going 30 kilometers per hour over the speed limit. What? There's no way I was going that fast.
Are you calling me a liar?
No, of course not.
Well, you were. Now I'm going to write you a ticket for $850.
No, please don't. I can't afford to pay that.
Is that so? Well, step out of the car, please.
I was in a panic, and so I did everything that I was told to, and I stepped out of my car.
Well, how much money do you have on you?
Well, I just got paid yesterday, so I have about $250 on me, but I need it for my bills.
Well, you have two options. You can either give it to me, and we can cancel this ticket right here and now. Or I can write you up, and then you'll have to book a day off of work, and then pay $850. It's your choice.
Can't you just let me off with a warning? That was when the cop threw me up against my car and lifted me off the ground by my shirt. Terrified what he might do next, I quickly grabbed my wallet and offered him the money, which he took, and then he drove off. The whole exchange felt completely weird, both because I had never heard of a cop demanding money for a ticket on the spot, but also threatening someone to pay as well. It felt very shady. The next day at work, I told some of my coworkers about what happened to me, and more than a few of them mentioned that something very similar happened to them on that stretch of highway. One of them even said that the guy's name was Officer Dudley, and that he had pulled my coworker over and demanded that he give him $400, or else he would be arrested on the spot. Of course, my coworker paid as he didn't want to have a criminal record, but the whole ordeal left him feeling very confused. It still didn't make sense, but knowing that I wasn't the only one to experience such a thing made me feel at least a bit less targeted. But again, hearing that my coworker was threatened to pay the fine or face jail felt odd. Again, it just felt nice to know that I wasn't the only one. That day, on my way home from work, I made sure to follow the speed limit, but in the same area that I was pulled over the previous time. I saw a cop car pull out and get behind me. When the siren went on and the lights were flashing, I was incredibly confused. After all, I wasn't speeding, so I wasn't sure why he had pulled me over.
Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?
Honestly, no sir, I don't. I definitely wasn't speeding.
You think so? Well, you're wrong. You were going over the speed limit by 20 kilometers per hour.
No, I wasn't.
Well, I'm not lying. As a police officer, it is my job to uphold the law. So listen, you can pay half the fine now or the entire amount when you go to court. The ticket is $600.
I only have $50 on me.
Well, that isn't remotely enough. You need to take this seriously.
Suddenly, the officer went around to the front of my car and took out his baton and smashed one of my front lights with it.
You see, if you don't pay, then stuff like that happens. So now how much money do you have on you?
I began to panic even more. I really only had $50 on me, and I wasn't sure what he was going to do to me when I revealed that. I'm sorry, but I really only have $50.
You worthless idiot. Fine. Give me the $50 and be on your way. But don't let me catch you driving up and down this highway anytime soon, or else I'll make sure you regret it.
Terrified, I gave him the money I had on me and then sped away as quickly as I could. When I got home, I was shaking so much. However, it finally dawned on me. I could report him to his superiors. After all, no cop should be behaving the way that he was. He was acting above and beyond what he should, and so I called up the police station to file a formal complaint. When I called, they told me that no such Officer Dudley was employed by them, and that they had received several complaints about a man masquerading as a police officer, but that he wasn't one. They began to ask me questions about where I had seen him and what he looked like. I gave them the best description I could, and then told them that I had just seen him less than an hour ago, and that I was fairly certain that I knew the stretch of highway where I had been stopped by him twice. They told me that they would send out some undercover cops immediately. I waited 2 minutes, and then suddenly 2 unmarked cars pulled up near me, and some police officers that were wearing simple everyday clothes got out. They showed me their badges and identification in order to prove that they were who they said they were. They then went on to say that they needed me to go down that stretch of highway where I had seen Officer Dudley, and to be speeding when I do to lure him out. The undercover police would be following me at a safe distance, and when Dudley will make his move, that they would arrest him. I was uncertain, but it kind of sounded exciting to help the police catch this man who was impersonating them and harassing the public. And so I agreed, and within a few more minutes, I was driving down the highway, making sure to be speeding when I passed the area where I had seen Dudley before, and sure enough, I saw his car behind me with the sirens and lights going. As before, I pulled over and got ready for him to try to extort me for more money. The second that he got out of his car and walked towards mine, the undercover cops pulled up behind him and jumped out and began to chase him. Frightened by this turn of events, Dudley turned and ran out into the woods that were on the side of the highway, and the cops chased after him. Alone by the highway, I grabbed a knife from the toolbox that I keep in the trunk of my car, and I punctured all of the tires on Dudley's fake police car, and then I went back to my own car. Just as I was about to get back into my own car, I saw Dudley jump out of the forest and ran straight to his car. As he jumped inside and hit the gas, the car swerved and drove a bit erratically. Seconds later, the police emerged from the forest as well, and then seeing Dudley try to drive away, they too jumped into their cars and chased after him. Of course, with all 4 tires flat, Dudley wasn't able to drive well, and he almost hit an old woman crossing the road. Dudley didn't make it very far, and the police used their cars to box him in and prevent him from driving away. Once his car was stopped, they smashed his windows and dragged him out of the car. From where I was, I could see him resisting arrest and fighting back, which made the actual police become more aggressive, and they used their batons to subdue him by beating him to pulp. He looked very black and blue, and was bleeding by the time that they were able to get handcuffs on him. Once he was in the back of a police car, the officers told me that I was free to go, but that they may need me to be a witness later during Dudley's trial. I agreed and went home, and I couldn't help but wonder what was to happen. A couple of weeks passed, and then I was contacted to appear in court. During the trial, I testified and spoke about my interactions with Dudley. After I did, the lawyers prosecuting the fake cop called in over 24 other people who all gave similar testimonies as I did. Apparently, he had been running this scam for weeks and was only caught because I called the real police on him. But during those weeks, Dudley had stolen tens of thousands of dollars from people and had physically assaulted many of them as well. If I hadn't called the police, then there is no telling how much longer his reign of terror would have lasted. In the end, the judge heard all the testimonies and ordered Dudley to pay back all the money that he had stolen from people plus interest. He then sentenced him to 20 years in prison for the crimes of impersonating an officer, assault, theft, extortion, and for resisting arrest as well. I was so relieved that he was facing such a harsh punishment, although I had never heard of anyone pulling something like that ever before. It was so outlandish, and I had never considered that someone would be so brazen as to pretend to be a cop to scam people out of their money. At least he is now behind bars and can't hurt or scam anyone else anymore. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.